Well, how about when you're uncomfortable? It's a little tough, isn't it? But what happens? What's the challenge when you're uncomfortable? Do you just simply focus about how you can get back to your comfort, or do you make adjustments in ways that you can be comfortable even in difficult circumstances? That's what God does in discipleship, isn't it? We learn how to become comfort in His presence. Comfort in His presence. Comfort in His call. We begin to get at ease in doing what God wants us to do. Now, how do you do that? You do that by repeating disciplined behaviors of walking with Christ. And the more you do those difficult things, the more comfortable you become with those difficult things, and the things that you once thought were terribly uncomfortable become what? The way you live. That's kind of like witnessing to somebody. I'll never forget the first time I was really convicted about witnessing to someone about what Jesus had done in my heart. I don't know how many of you have been there. I hope that you have been there, and I hope that you were able to overcome that. But how many of you, just that kind of words stuck in your throat? You had trouble getting them out, or worst of all, you just let the devil cheat you completely out of sharing your faith. Because it's not comfortable. What's the first thing Satan reminds you of? Who do you think you are trying to tell somebody else about Jesus? What makes you think that you're good enough to do that? I mean, those are the things Satan will really throw at you. And what happens? You begin to squirm and get really, really, really uncomfortable, don't you? But what happens when you depend upon God and you begin to share your faith? See, you say, well, I don't know enough about this to do it like you do, Dale. Or I don't know. Listen, let me tell you how I learned to witness. Some of you have heard this story before. I really became convicted about this. I was saved. I was working in a Ford dealership in a little town called Danridge, Tennessee. I drove an old Ford pickup truck, and I developed a unique form of witnessing. I called it the 255 witnessing. You ever heard of that 255 program? I would pick up a hitchhiker, and there were two people in a truck going 55 miles an hour down the road, and I would tell them about Jesus. Now, they had two options. They could get out or stay in the truck. Now, I wouldn't suggest that all the time, but this is the true story. This is how I got over that, because God said, I want you to share. And it was down, in an area, and I would head out in the morning, or I'd head home in the afternoon. There'd be a hitchhiker, and I'd pick them up. And I don't know if any of them ever, I don't know what impact it had on their life. They may have been waiting to get out of my truck. I don't know what it was. But let me tell you what. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And it wasn't you say, well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. That was what God challenged me to do. I'm not telling you to do it, but I believe God has a plan for you. God has a plan for you to share your faith. How many of you got somebody you're praying for that you wish that knew Jesus? I hope all of you do. How many of you have ever told them about Jesus? Because if God is challenging you, let me tell you what. You may be the one to help them to know Jesus. You could. You say, oh, I can't do that. Well, that's the first reaction to almost anything that God calls you to do, doesn't it? I can't. Why? Because you're not comfortable. It's not convenient. You want to be a little more casual. If it, okay, if it works, But folks, we got to get out of our comfort. Discipleship requires us to be disciples of Jesus, right? Which doesn't always play into our comfort zone. The fourth thing, and this one, we really look for, because, I'm a little miserly in things. We like things to be cost-free, don't we? I mean, whenever something says free, how many of you look at it? Come on, you can confess up. Okay, yeah. Confess up. It's reality, isn't it? But cost-free means I'll be glad to participate as long as it doesn't cost me anything. But there is a cost in it. What did it cost Jesus to save you? It cost him his life, didn't it? Now, what does it cost us to serve him? What ought to it cost us? It ought to cost us our life, right? Our life. You say, well, do we have to go to the cross? Well, I don't know. That may be what God's asking you to do. It may not be. He hasn't asked me to go to the cross, and I haven't been there, but he asked me to bear it, doesn't he? To carry it. To take up a cross and follow him. He does. And that's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you all of those comforts, and it may even cost you financially. It may cost you physically. Folks, there are levels of our faith that are important. Gypsy Smith, an English evangelist years ago, profound evangelist, described Christians in 4 different levels of life. And when he began to do that, he actually used a passage out of the book of Jeremiah about the rivers of life. And when he said, listen, he said, I've found in the average church today that there are those who are ankle deep in the stream. They're afraid to get out very deep into the stream. They just want to get up, just barely tiptoe in. And eventually they'll get in ankle deep. That's somebody who maybe comes to church once in a while or once a week or period. That's it. They're not going to get involved in anything else. You might as well forget about telling them about things that's going on at the church because they're comfortable. It's convenient. That's what they're going to do. That's it. And their faith is only about ankle deep. Well, let me tell you what. I really kind of personally like to get in a little deeper than that, don't you? Especially if it's a buffet. All right? But the reality is that there's another level, and he said there's those that kind of get in knee deep then. I mean, they're out a little, when you're in knee deep, you can't always see what's in the bottom, can you? I mean, those are folks who actually come to Bible study. They attend on Sunday mornings, and even they may come on Sunday nights, and they like to observe what's going on, but they don't really get into what's going on, do they? These are his words. They like to observe, but when it comes to getting involved, they're saying, I'm doing all I'm going to do. It's as far as I'm going to go. He said the third one is those who are in up waist deep. Now, there's a real decision when you get in waist deep, isn't there? These are folks that, listen, they're morally strong. They're vocal about their faith. Folks around them know that they're a believer. They may even, teach Sunday school. They may do other things like that. But they've never really took the plunge because they're depending a lot on themselves. Because, you see, when you're in waist deep, you can either get in deeper or you can back out. You're just kind of at a level wherever you're at, You're where you're, about as far as you're going to go. Because let me tell you why. It takes a little faith to go deeper than waist deep, doesn't it? She did it to me again. I want you to know that. My wife scheduled me to go snorkeling again while we were gone. I don't swim, folks. We're going to go to a place we'd never been before snorkeling. So we get on the boat, and I asked the captain of the boat, how deep's the water here? Oh, it varies between 5 to 25 feet. Okay.